And I think we're already almost to our last topic before the lunch, and that is, and I will have to put on my glasses. We call it an inside session, communication professionals as strategic business partners. That's interesting, and the one who will inform us about that, which I may invite to the stage, is Michelle Samson. And she's the internal communications manager of the Iveco group. I think from Italy. Yes, good. You want a fixed mic or do you want to walk around? I'll take this one then. The stage is yours. Good luck.
Good morning, good afternoon. We're very close to lunch. And I'm going to take the next 30 minutes of your time to talk to you about communications professionals as strategic business partners. I've had an opportunity to speak with so many of you yesterday and today, so I know that this is something you live. And I'd like to make this a joint session, so I'll explain to you. Before we get into the core of this talk, will you humor me and tell me, by raising your hand, how many years you've been serving the communications industry? So how many in this room have been in communications for less than 5 years? About 10 people. 5 to 10 years? Okay, a few more. 10 to 20? Oh, good. And how about our super experts? More than 20 years. Okay, excellent. So there's no doubt, there's a lot of experience in this room. I can't put a precise number on our collective contribution to communications, but it's a lot. And it's meaningful that we're all gathered together here to spend 2 days learning from each other, exchanging ideas, and increasing our network. So hats off to us. I believe this is valuable time spent. So there are 3 things I want to do today in these 30 minutes. The first is tell you a little bit about myself and about the company I work for. The second is to talk about 3 approaches to communications. And the third part is I'd like to hear from you. So my journey, I was born and raised in the United States. My journey in communications began when I started organizing trade fairs in California. That moved into in-house corporate events for a major satellite television provider based out of Los Angeles. And then I moved to Europe. And in the 23 years since that move, I have run a public relations department at an agency. I've been a freelance consultant for companies wanting to go global. And I've been in-house doing corporate communications, both internal and external, for CNH Industrial and Iveco Group, where I'm currently employed. So let me give you some background on that last bit. In October of 2019, I joined CNH Industrial. It was a capital goods company. 12 brands, 64,000 employees in 180 countries, very large company, and 12 diverse brands. I was on a 20-person internal communications team, and I was in charge of executive messaging and campaigns. A really fun job. 5 months later, what happened? We all know. So the pandemic, the pains and the gains of the pandemic, shined light on the primary role of communications, especially as regards crisis management and internal communications. Did any of you have that experience as well? Yes, a couple of nodding. So our industry, in my opinion, had a paradigm shift. And that was due to our ability to react quickly and effectively in a context where nobody could predict what was happening next. So we provided comms teams, internal, external, all the different elements, provided really valuable contribution to companies or organizations that we worked for. And this was seen. The light was shed on our contribution to business performance. Let's fast forward to 2021. The team started to settle in. The pandemic was not over, but people started to find a rhythm within companies. I developed a campaign for CNH Industrial that was sort of a midway point with the big hope that COVID would end soon, but in the meantime, moving forward together. And this was presented and adopted by all of our brands, all of our functions, all of our regions, senior leadership down to team supervisors, and it was very successful. I think it provided stability in that very uncertain environment. We still see some of these stickers and some of the buildings, and oddly it's seen as something positive, even though COVID was such a terrible time. We managed to roll this out, a global umbrella campaign that had obvious local implements, because every country, you'll remember this, every country had different regulations, different government guidelines. Some could go back to work, some couldn't wear a mask, not wear a mask. It was different in every single one of our sites. And so it was extremely important that it be rolled out locally. We had mobile phone apps. You were speaking earlier today. Mobile phone apps, the internet was a huge tool. We developed a website ad hoc that had a page for every single site so that even our frontline workers could access it to find out, is gate 24 closed tomorrow? How do I get into the building? Everybody was on board, and this made it successful. Okay, in this context, CNH Industrial announced it was going to spin off some of its brands as of January 2022, so demerger. We had 6 months to roll out a full-scale separation campaign. You can imagine there was uncertainty on top of the pandemic uncertainty. There was a lot of uncertainty within the company. Where was I going to go? Which company was going to be mine? Would my team still exist? It was our aim, we had 2 major aims through this 6-month campaign, to inform and reassure, and to outline the roadmap, and not only for our 64,000 employees, but for our dealers, our customers, suppliers. We called this Twice as Strong. Went out, it was continuous for 6 months, but CEO letters, emails, intranet posts, bulletins, town halls. And each step of the way was outlined up until January. And we were able to, through this 6 months, which is really short when you're talking about a demerger, it wasn't a lot of time, but we were able to unveil gradually what the new reality would look like. So we unveiled the new name, Iveco Group. We hadn't even done it one here. We announced who the CEO would be of the new company and who the senior leadership would be. That makes a difference when you're looking at all of these employees wondering who they're going to follow. So we were creating 2 global leaders serving unique markets, one in capital goods and one in automotive. And I was assigned to the new company, the automotive company, which is Iveco Group. As we prepared for day 1, we were unveiling step by step the different elements of the new company. And we started with a video where we unveiled our new logo. And I'll show that to you in a second. This was the first step in our brand identity, the brand identity of a brand new company. And we wanted to be known, we wanted Iveco Group to be known as a dynamic company full of energy. Remember, we're talking about trucks and powertrain. So that was an interesting combination. I still really enjoy this video. Besides energy, do you get any other elements that we were trying to pull out and present? Good, responsibility for corporate responsibility, nice. Yeah, definitely environmental sustainability, definitely. Anything else? Some things are so basic that maybe you didn't see them. People-centric. The color blue. It's our corporate color along with gray. I went on. Circle, the dot in the middle. That's our predominant icon, if you will, our predominant graphic element that we continue throughout everything we're doing. The study behind the color, the precise color, was amazing. And so my colleagues in the visual identity department worked very hard to ensure that the entire company knew that precise code. And whether it was to be print or digital, it makes a difference. I learned a lot in this. So all of this led up to January 3rd, 2022. This is our CEO. This is the exchange, the stock exchange in Milan. And that was our first day of trading, so officially our first day of operations. I wondered, has anybody else been a part of a startup or a new organization? I know, Evie, you're going through it right now with Shell Recharge Solutions. So we've been talking about it. It's an interesting time. But anybody else, maybe starting a new nonprofit, an organization? No hands. I can tell you, it is the most stimulating, the most intense, but the most stimulating experience I have ever had. And I feel very privileged to have gone through it. So I would say if you have the opportunity, take it. It's a lot of work, but it's really, really satisfying. So the unique part about Iveco Group is that we are a startup. We've been around since this first day, but we have behind us 170 years of experience. It's a very unique position to be in. And communications are at the heart of it. So this is us at a glance, and then I'll get into what I really wanted to talk about today. This is our company. We have 8 brands, 20 industrial sites, which are hubs of factories where our plants, 29 research and development centers, and over 35,000 employees. And this is our product lineup, basically. So the pandemic positioned the communications team as a very strong contributor to strategic business. And the spin-off for Iveco Group put us in a place where we would, it was our responsibility, it is our responsibility to ensure that our internal and our external stakeholders are on board and they embrace our messages and they want to be a part of what Iveco Group is. This is a snapshot of our communications team. There are 20 of us, and whereas prior with CNH Industrial, we had internal communications and we had corporate communications. All of us were put together and then split and then put into two different companies. And in Iveco Group, we have one communications department led by our Senior VP for Communications. Within that, we have at central level, corporate and brand identity, digital communications and social media, internal communications, corporate events and publications. And then at operational level, for both internal and external communications, it's split by region, EMEA, LATAM, and Asia, and Australia and New Zealand. We are the human side of this very industrial company. We produce and receive communications that impact results and our company's performance. The company views us as an asset. It prioritizes our efforts because it knows that good communications can add value. Poor communications risks the reputation of the company. Okay, so having given you an idea of who I am and the company I work for, now I want to talk about us, communications professionals as strategic business partners. But first, coffee. Only virtual coffee, just to be in line with the summit's theme of digital. I live and work in Turin, Italy, and coffee is a very serious subject there. In fact, we calculated that last year, our employees, the Iveco Group employees, in Turin alone, drank more than 2 million cups of coffee. It's very serious. But I also know that this group today takes coffee seriously. And I've shared some great conversations running up to the bar upstairs. So how does this relate to communications? I believe it's possible to take 3 different approaches to strategic communications. And the first is a coffee vending machine approach. Let me explain. This is a photograph of an actual coffee vending machine in our office. I'm sure you know how they work. There are a lot of choices. You can see that. Look at those. It's all coffee. There might be one hot chocolate here, or a tea, mostly coffee. And you can see the red ones are a superior level. It costs slightly more. It depends if you have the budget to pay for it. So the client takes its plastic key, inserts it into the machine, and makes a couple of decisions. Hot or cold, standard or superior, basic or with all the extras, and then has to decide how much sugar. At that point, the machine goes to work, and voila. The client doesn't have to wait long, maybe time to just look at the bulletin board, see if there's a new internal communications bulletin. The bell rings, the coffee's ready, and the client is happy. I think that there are many approaches to communications and many, many factors that determine your choice in your approach. At times, the coffee vending machine approach is a viable answer. You can use a template to standardize communications for certain types of communications. For example, in Iveco Group, HR organizational announcements, or a press release that talks about the regular analyst calls and has to announce the date of that call, or maybe announcing a share buyback program. Also on our intranet, a post about a team offsite that can be standardized for that team. And on LinkedIn, our job postings, they're quite standard. Obviously, the details are filled in. This type of communications, vending machine communication, saves time and money. And it ensures continuity, especially when the content is sensitive or a mere formality. And it can be conducted by a junior team member with supervision by middle management. So by customizing a template, the comms team distributes the communication requested by an internal client or external. But let me go back to the coffee. Sometimes you want more interaction. Sometimes you want a more personalized touch. You want maybe some input from a professional. And I'm talking about your trusted barista. I might go into my favorite cafe and I say hello to the barista and I order my coffee and she suggests today, why don't you add some nutmeg? I thought, wow, what a great idea, I hadn't thought of that. And she delivers my coffee and it's got a beautiful leaf motif in the foam and I appreciate the extra touch. So communications professionals, we're the humanistic element of a company. Of course, with human resources. At Iveco Group, our company produces commercial and specialty vehicles and powertrain. The large majority of our employees are engineers, frontline operators, experts in propulsion, mechanics, the transport ecosystem. Our team, we're like the barista. We don't expect our internal clients to be experts in, or our functions, to be experts in communications. That's our job. They come with a need or an idea, and we sit down together at the table, and we give them a warm welcome. Let's talk about this. And it's a conversation. Out of that conversation, we've looked at benchmarking, we've looked at last year. For us, it's 1 year, we only have 1 year. We look at last year's results, maybe new approaches, and we focus on a solution that will take the message to the right person at the right time on the right channel. Collaborating in this way, we're speaking with senior leaders, we're speaking with team supervisors, and we're open to new ideas, and we're prepared to advise on effective communication strategies that are going to be consistent with the company's purpose and values. We take the barista approach, and we do this often in Iveco Group. So this type of approach can be entrusted to middle management on your comms team. It requires in-depth understanding of the company culture, a view of the overall communication plan, and has to be able to ensure that the corporate messaging is consistent. The barista approach, it takes creativity and the use of digital tools for making an impact in a cost-effective manner. So I was saying at Iveco Group, we use this approach a lot, and that's mainly because being a brand new company, our functions have 1 year of experience. They know what happened last year, and they come to us and say, we need to do this again. And it's the right opportunity to sit down and discuss. Let's talk about this. What worked, what didn't work? Where are you going with this? Do we need to do this? Maybe we need to amplify it. It's a conversation. So together, we measure against last year. We're setting new records, and we define and develop a communication plan for the function, for the company, for whoever our client would be at the moment. For example, our legal and compliance team last year came to us and asked for to repeat our code of conduct communications. So we sat down and we talked about approaching. We didn't just send out the bulletin and the email, the code of conduct's here, you know it's here. We set up a complete year of communications, and together with the head of legal and compliance. We brainstormed, we talked about how that fit into the overall company strategy, purpose, and values. And once this new plan was approved by the Chief Legal and Compliance Officer, we moved it out, we rolled it out, which was January of this year. So we did start with code of conduct, and we decided to add a QR code on the code of conduct printed versions available in our plants and in our offices and our ER&D centers to give, one, to be sustainable, but two, to give people the opportunity to scan it and read it at home. or in the office. We're also adding some videos. We have 5 new values, and our colleagues have taken, our employees have videoed themselves. What does this particular value mean to them? So we're adding these 5 values in the digital format of our code of conduct. And then another initiative, because the legal and compliance team had 2 objectives. They wanted to get closer to the people. They felt too distant. And they wanted to incorporate our 5 values. So we did the activity that would allow people to access the material more readily. But we also decided to develop conversations with compliance initiatives. So that's once a quarter. Our experts in intellectual property, on data privacy, they set up a call, and for 1 hour, the microphone is open, and they take questions from our colleagues, salary colleagues around the world. Okay, so that was an example of the barista approach. There's one more approach. The coffee master approach. So in a perfect world, I'd be doing what I usually do. Chatting with friends in the piazza, going off to buy bread, driving to work, and I would be approached by my personal coffee master, who would say, I think right now, you need a drip blend, 100% Robusta coffee bean, cafe latte macchiato right now, because you need more protein. Great, wow, thank you. Yeah, I do. And this coffee master resolves problems I didn't even know I had. I now have more energy. I'm not sleepy. This analogy is easier to apply to communications, because a coffee master has the highest level of coffee expertise. This person contrasts and compares many coffees to understand their profile, their coffee profile, their flavor. And they advise on which coffee is best when. They're proactive, they're expert, and they're fully informed. So in communications, we are professionals. We anticipate the needs of our clients, and we create opportunities within our company. We have to have a full set of information, a broad perspective on the overall business plan, and we need decisional powers. We can drive communications that support the company culture and the direction the company is taking in the medium and in the long term. This is strategic, forward-thinking, and results-oriented. Communications professionals speak the language of senior management. We back up proposals with data. And we demonstrate value by making connection between company KPIs and communications. Speaking to this, our colleagues in South America recently adopted a strategy for documenting communications, because I think measurement is so important and so difficult. Every single communications, whether it's a press release, whether it's a bulletin or a video, whatever it is, they document this in a program separated by content cluster. They're able to go to senior management and say, percentage-wise, with numbers, we have dedicated this much time to this subject. And it has been very successful for them. Also for them to understand where their energy is going. In Iveco Group, another example that I'm sure is in your companies and organizations, ESG, or sustainability. It's a common theme throughout the company. We need to be on it. So with our senior VP of communications on the senior leadership team, I'm on the corporation's new sustainability team representing our communications, and our heads of the communications, the areas I showed you earlier, they're all actively involved in monthly function and brand updates. That allows us to have the information early, because we're the ones that need to draft the communications and get it out to the stakeholders. So about 1 year ago, this is the example, about 1 year ago, we approached our sustainability team, and we said, we think we have some ideas, for helping our company reach its sustainability targets. We had plans already underway for an event called Beyond Iveco Group Days. This was a 5-day event held in Turin. It was our way of introducing ourselves to the city where we're headquartered. And everybody was involved. And we had talks, panels, test drives, a family day, press events, exhibits, recruitment initiative with HR. It was huge, huge, and so much fun. A lot of work, but so much fun. We went to sustainability and said, we have an idea. We have this event, and we want it to be as sustainable as possible. And this will give you data and results and help us when we do our sustainability report for having reached our targets. So obviously they worked with us, and we proactively partnered to set up, we used bio bottles for water. Our CO2 emissions during the event were offset by reforestation. Instead of VIP giveaways, we made a donation to Save the Children. We provided digital press kits instead of paper press kits. We made a mini website that had the product information for our exhibit so that our guests could use the QR code instead of receiving paper. And we collaborated with the European Design Institute of Turin. Students participated, they're artists, they took photographs of what renewable energy meant to them, and this decorated the location we were at. All of these initiatives that we introduced and worked and fine-tuned with sustainability were documented, the results were documented, and this was a part of the report we sent to senior management after the event. So, you can see that when possible, we opt for the Coffee Master approach. But my belief is that all 3 approaches are important and viable. It's up to us to decide what's the right one at the right time. So I'm going to wrap up now. Here's a summary of what I talked about, all 3 of these approaches. Do we have time? I wanted to open up the mic to the audience and get some stories from you. Does this resonate with you? Does it make any sense? Have you had any experiences that might fit into any of these categories?
Raise your hand. Take mine. Good.
Sorry, everyone, this is the last time I'll take the mic. I just want to say it really resonates with me, and I think looking at this, I just think back through my career of sort of almost 15 years in comms and change, and the big challenge when I reflect is the perception in most organizations, and particularly with most leaders, is that you're the coffee machine on the left side here. But you're sitting there frustrated saying, I'm the coffee master. And you want to add all this value, and I think there's a really big challenge around that. And so I guess maybe putting it to a question to you is, how do you change that perception?
You're patient, but I do, what I mentioned here, the fact that our leader, our communications leader, Senior VP of Communications, is on the senior leadership team, that means we have our ambassador on the team. We also have, being a new company, we have executives who have been involved previously at a different level, who are now in an executive role that believe in what we do. But other than that, I would say it's providing data, measuring your results and speaking the language of your leaders so that you have a case to take to them. Because it doesn't work to say it was really beautiful, but it was expensive. I mean, no, we need to come in with results. These many articles in papers, engagement on our annual survey went up. You have to back it up with results, I think. I do think ambassadors are important, though, having people within the company that believe in you.
Some more from the audience. In the back, I guess.
There she is.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. And as I'm also business partnering with sustainability, for me, the first element, and you mentioned it in different way, but it's the trust as well. My first priority when I became business partner was really how to become the trusted advisor for this function of this business. And it doesn't mean quickly deliver something that proves that can do it, but it's quite the contrary. It was very quickly show that I was this expert. So sometimes I would say also, no, we won't be communicated about that, but instead we could do this or that or do it differently. And I think it all starts from this trust from the business partner. I mean, from your business partner. Because once you have proven that you do have an expertise, then they trust you blindly. Because they will understand that you are here to support them, and that is your priority. So I think that's also a very important element.
Yes, I agree. Trust is absolutely important. But you also coupled that with the word partner. And I think that that's an intrinsic part of being a partner. When the function or when the brand perceives us as a partner and we're going in authentically to partner, I think there's so much that could be accomplished. When we go in with an agenda and a box to tick, they know that.
Sure.
I think so. I'm a comms professional of many years. I now work for an analytics company, so I'm obviously really pleased that you see the power in data, right? And I think in terms of building trust and building partnership, one of the lessons I've learned in using data in my communications practice is one of the most powerful things you can do is show leaders when things don't work and be completely open about that. And there's a real propensity, I think, in the industry to feel like you have to always prove everything's a success, and you look for data to prove success. Probably the most powerful thing you can do is prove failure and say what you're going to do to change. And then the leader will go, you're using data in an intelligent way, and we're going to adapt what we're doing. And I think that's a really important point around data and analytics.
Speaks to AI, I'm sure. But also, to me, what comes to mind are the engagement surveys. I don't know how many of you do those. We're doing it annually now. And it's one thing to say 52% said engagement went up, but it's another thing to look at 48%. And our company is good about that. Our HR partners and our senior leadership team look at the 48% and say, great, but this is also a clear message. What does it mean?
Michelle, you had some feedback from the audience now. Is there anyone who has a specific question left for Michelle as well?
Yes, Michelle, thank you very much. I really enjoyed the coffee. It speaks volumes to me because I love coffee, and I feel that it really applies well to what we do. And yes, I'd love to have a coffee master following me around everywhere. Just about the feedback, I'm always curious about that because I think it's one of the hard things, at least in our context, to implement. So you're saying you have an engagement survey you do once a year. Is there anything else that you've put in place to hear kind of feedback from employees, but also maybe from managers and so forth? And what is that and how is it? What are the results?
Yeah, feedback is so important. And a lot of you have talked about it in these 2 days. It's difficult, but it's important. So on our intranet, we've set up some quick polls, particularly after that conversations with compliance and the code of conduct work. It being a year-long plan, we wanted to know as we were going through it, is this working? And if it's not, let's pivot. So we did a quick poll, and we talked. We still need to implement it, but one other idea was going to our plans, because we have that frontline population that's hard to get to. And they're not, we've done things with QR codes, they're not responding really well to that, but we want to see why. We want to see what type of content. So we're going to work with our plant partners on developing a questionnaire that would test, does the QR code work? And then we'll test, did they get the content? And we're going to ask the questions. I think what it needs there is a very personal touch where we go face to face and talk to our people. Focus groups, types of settings where you sit and have a chat. We'll follow up maybe a live stream with our leadership team. Will follow it up by contacting, just the communications team will contact 10 people we know in the company, and we'll pile all of those reactions together, and that we're able to turn to our management and say, this is what people said about yesterday's live stream. But it's tough.
Good. Anything to add, Michelle, or is this...
No, this has been such an enriching experience. Thank you, all of you, for your attention, your cooperation, and for sharing your ideas in these 2 days. I really have appreciated it. And buon appetito.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.